Dagger Heart. Dagger Heart. Dagger Heart. Come and we want to go OGL. Dagger Heart. Dagger Heart. Dagger Heart. Come and we want to go OSR. What's up, my fellow Twitters, YouTubers, vloggers, VTubers, Reddits, Facebookies, whatevers? It's me, the OGGM, the man who doesn't show his face, because who wants to see my face? You want to see movement on the screen. It's 8:25 on this windy. If you hear a lot of noise behind me, that's this super like 15, 20 mile an hour winds here. And because I live in this weird canyon of houses, it echoes off all the roofs. So yeah, it's 8:26 here at the 14th day, 314. It's Pie Day. Go out and buy yourself some pie. It's bright and sunny and windy, and it's time for the Dagger Heart Beats. Bam. As we know, the playtest went live the day before yesterday, and oh my giddy aunt, it hit the water running and was broadsided from both sides, which is, yeah, I don't know naval terms, but yeah, it was bombarded from both sides, from both the pro and the negative. I seriously doubt anybody can be impartial, even me. I'm trying to be impartial as I can, but there's just things that I'm going to go, no. So let's get into today's Dagger Heart nonsense. But first, let's look at the numbers to see if the announcement of Dagger Heart has helped Critical Role after the last month, which has just been pretty ugly for them. So heading over to the Twitter, whatever you call this, the last update was 7 days ago. Critical Role Campaign 3, Episode 87, they're still on the frickin' moon, was 772K. The rebroadcast was 53.3Ks. And the third rebroadcast was 110K. So 2 rebroadcasts. Is that a thing they're doing now to tweak the algorithm? Do they really feel that the 172 people who, saw it, those other 2, there was probably, a couple grand out there who missed it. So they're going to show it twice again. And how many of these are just the same people watching it twice? And then they did a session 0 of Dagger Heart 2 days ago that has 115K views, according to the Twitch. Meanwhile, over the Tube of Views, their numbers are a little bit better. Which I just lost that page. All right, we've got 7 days ago, Mitts, Session 3, Episode 4, with 17K views. Guys, I thought you were done with Mitts. We have Caper Cards, More Sided Dives, 4SDE21 with 67K views. We have Critical Role Campaign 3, Episode 87 with 255K views. We have Dagger Heart Open Beta with Matt interviewing Steven with 182K views. Several people are saying just get rid of the Steven guy and hire Mike Merles. He's available. He's a much better game designer. Of course, I'm not sure Critical Role can afford Mike, but whatever. And then we had 150K views for them watching Travis build his character. And then 2 days ago, they had the open beta playtest where they're doing session 0 for open beta for, at least they claim, is a one-shot, though considering they spent almost 2-3 hours building characters, I have a feeling it's going to be more than a one-shot, guys. But I guess they're taking a break for Campaign 3, again, because we know the fans aren't angry at them enough, to do a one-shot for Dagger Heart. So I tried watching some of this, and I'll watch the rest of it, or at least have it playing in the background when I'm doing something else. Most of it was them discussing background and what voice they were going to use. And they're like, I'm workshopping the voice. The voice of the character for the one shot probably shouldn't be the most important thing, and the intricate background, organize interconnected story for a one-shot playtest probably shouldn't be the most important thing. But again, this is Critical Role, so that's what the audience wants. And then they had an Acquisitions Missed Season 3, Episode 5 with 10K views. Guys, just give it up. Give it up. Okay, I think it's safe to say Myths was a failure. All right, moving on. What is going on with the Dagger Heart since yesterday, other than it's way too gimmicky? Okay, a couple people pointed out mistakes I made regarding mostly the initiative. So I'm going to read those comments if I can find them. Now, obviously, there's, people are going to be negative or positive. There's no way to get an impartial at this. So I've got 15 comments so far, ignoring the insults. The problem criticizing initiative is you, and still run initiative orders or around the table board game style, and the game will still work. It doesn't break the game. Just play how you want instead of winging about it. Telling players and the DM that this is an intended experience to not have initiative order in this case, but if you don't like the rules, do as you please is a horrific game design, or rather not game design at all, because you're essentially just providing clear rules in the first place. OGM is right, though. We have all been at tables where domineering players and those that hardly speak up, which is okay to agree when everyone is mindful of the quiet players and the loud players know when to shut up to share the spotlight. I've never met a loud player, an obnoxious player who is willing to share the spotlight. Even if they're not on screen, they're talking. They're doing something. Making jokes or whatever, because they need to be the center. But when there are loud players who want to be the center of attention, and in a system that doesn't have a turn order, it sounds like a nightmare. It is. Now, if you have experienced this differently and think it works, great. I can only speak of my personal experience in the 90s, the 2000s, and as recently as in the last couple years. When it was, my first introduction to it was way back in the 90s with, Steve Balbo and Conselman and Solomon and Willis, and the beginnings of the Forge movement, and into Fudge and Fate and Powered by the Apocalypse, all the way to more recently. And it doesn't work, because the loudest person, the most energetic person, the person who beats everybody else to the punch is the person who's going to go. And Bob Worldbuilder pointed this out in the playtest that he did with Jeannie D, that Jeannie was making 4, 5, 6, 8 moves opposed to everybody else, because Jeannie is just so proactive and so attention grabbing and knows how to, work an audience. And the other people there maybe weren't as outgoing as her. So just I get to go as long as I have your attention until maybe somebody else steps up and says something. It doesn't work. There should be an implied, you guys need to give everybody else a chance, or maybe an egg timer. If you're going to do the talk to you, shut up initiative, egg timer. You've got as long as the sand in this egg timer or whatever is up. When it's gone, I need you to shut up so then somebody else can go. And then that person needs to stay quiet. There needs to be a punishment in initiative if that person is still trying to get your attention. It's like, it's Chris's turn, Steve. You need to be quiet for a couple seconds, because the initiative is supposed to be everybody working together to move the initiative forward, not just Steve being Steve. All right. So then we have, I went on a weird rant about the bell curve and advantage, and misunderstood the players add their hope and fear dice together to determine the roll, not pick one or the other. Is that what I said? Maybe what I said. That's what I said. From what I understand, you've got the 2d12. One's blue, that's your hope dice. One's green, that's your fear dice. You roll both. Whichever one is higher is the one that you're playing. So if my hope dice is a 7 and my fear dice is a 4, and the total is whatever, 11, my total is 11, but the hope dice was higher, so it's 11 with hope, and you're hoping that's a success. Or if my fear dice was, 7 and my hope dice was 2, then it's, fear. And when the fear dice is higher than the hope dice, that's when the DM gets his little fear point, to do something. From what I understand it, based upon what I heard Bob say and what I heard other people say and what I've read so far. I could be completely wrong. I'm going to read it again in a little bit. But, yeah. Oh, God. I'm just have you looking at Mercer's face. There you go. So this is them doing the playtest on the picture here that I'm showing you, because apparently I need to show you my face and not pictures. So yeah, and they're talking about their characters. They're talking about the interaction. They're talking about the voices, workshopping the voices, because they're theater people and that's important. And they know their audience. And we know that the people who don't like the Critical Role mindset are going to be upset because they're saying things like that. But that's their audience. That's what the audience wants to see. And I think they're desperate to recapture that audience after all the flack they've gotten for the last week or month, pretty much all of 2024. The audience has been unbelievably angry with them. In January, was it January? In January, because Laura's character picked up something that everybody thought Ashley's character should have. I think that was it. Maybe it was the other way around. And the fans got upset because they were all like, no, that was meant for her character and the other person should not have that. And they were like, they were outraged. And that cost them, because how dare a player play their character in character to pick up the MacGuffin when we, the audience, thought the MacGuffin was supposed to go to somebody else? And why isn't she giving the MacGuffin to the other character? Because it's obviously meant for the other character, even though the other character's player repeatedly said they didn't want it. Well, it doesn't matter if you don't want it. We want you to have it. So we know that, and then they don't like the direction Campaign 3 is going, because one, it appears they're having fun despite the audience and actually playing D&D for the first time, and it includes them fucking up and going in the wrong direction and not doing what the audience wants. But two, Campaign 3 is not going the way the audience thinks they want it to go, so they've been abandoning it left and right. And as we saw the numbers, it shows. But the playtest got almost 400K. So maybe that's, they need to get back to, unfortunately, what the audience wants, which isn't playing D and play what the, exactly. Yeah. I don't think they should just do a live play of it. And, I think we should do, I think they probably are playing games that behind the scenes, but of course they're going to do this live play to test the waters. They need to test the waters. What else did I get wrong? So weird rant about the bell curve. I think I'm understanding it, but am I wrong? 2 dice, 1 is higher, and that's the advantage one. I don't know what happens if they both roll the same number. What if I have 7 in hope and 7 in fear? What if I roll double 12s? What if I roll double 1s? And is there a mechanic that allows me to manipulate those numbers? Because the numbers show that more often than not, it's going to be the same numbers, or it's like 15.15% that the fear dice versus the hope dice, and which dice is always going to be ahead. But percentage wise, you're more often than not rolling 2 of the same numbers. It's not a fair bell curve from what the mathematician person explained to me, but then it's math. So what the fuck do I know about math? I'm an idiot. It just seems to me that if the mechanic is there, then there's going to be a way to manipulate the mechanic and break it so the hope number is always higher and the DM never gets those points. We got one. I'm uploading it. I know. Here's one. I know that you've criticized the auto success in MCDM. I don't criticize it. A lot of other people criticized it. I think it works if you make auto hit the same as everything else. If you make armor class a saving throw, so I automatically hit until you roll your saving throw, and if your saving throw is higher than what my hit, then obviously I miss. Just make it a saving throw, like roll saving throw versus poison. That's a saving throw. Roll saving throw versus charm person. Saving throw, right? I don't roll to see if my charm person works or not. You roll a saving throw. I don't roll to see if my poison works or not. You roll a saving throw. So make the armor class a saving throw. That works. All the other weird things, well, I mean, it seems to feel overly complicated. Some people say they work. Most people are like, it's overly complicated, and we need to wait to see when it's done. But I'm not negative about it. I think pretty much 90% of everybody else is. A lot of people are saying Dagger Heart is looking to be more interesting than MCDM, but again, both are at the beginning, so there's no way to tell. Also, I think they're going in different directions, right? MCDM is going for a more cinematic, tactical, action-oriented, initiative and time-centric play, definitely feeding into the mentality of fourth, even if not the actual mechanics of fourth. And Dagger Heart's going towards more of a theatrical live play. Let's actors group improv style of play, right? But it's the beginning. A year from now, both games might look completely different. Other comments? Well, yeah, just the negative ones and the stuff Shoner's saying about me. We'll ignore those because whatever. So where does that leave us? We need to do another read through, and that brings us to the big question, because they are doing this play test session 0 on the Tube of You. What's gonna be campaign 4? What's gonna be campaign 4? Right now, campaign 3, they're on the moon. They're almost, not quite, almost, sort of, almost to the end fight. We don't know who's going to go evil. It might be that campaign 3 ends at a cliffhanger, and the story continues at the beginning of campaign 4. Or maybe the good guys lose at the end of campaign 3, and campaign 4 ends in the aftermath of campaign 3. A brand new calamity. For those of you who know Critical Role lore better than I do, which is pretty much everybody. Campaign, so there you go. Now, the big question that has been asked, as you can see at the beginning, is Dagger Heart going to be the 5.5 killer? Well, no. Dungeons & Dragons 2024 is the 5.5 killer because it's a brand new edition of Dungeons & Dragons. I don't care what you say otherwise. It's a brand new edition. It is 6E. It's 2024 D&D is a brand new edition. If it wasn't a brand new edition, we wouldn't need a brand new player's handbook. We wouldn't need a brand new monster manual, and we wouldn't need a brand new DM's guide. All we would have needed was an errata, an unearthed arcana, the 2024 update. Definitely don't need a year-long campaign. Well, it's not a year-long campaign if it's in one book, guys, but a year-long Vecna campaign if it's not a new edition. It's just, it's 2024, it's the anniversary, here's the brand new unearthed arcana, all the updated, changed, modified rules that have been altered since the beginning in 2014. Anything new that we've added that has become official and canon, anything that we faded out because we thought it wasn't working anymore, like the Blood Singer class, which I don't know is a thing, but I'm sure there's things that have gone away. We know lore has changed. We know numbers have changed. We know math has changed. We know perception of certain characters and classes and races has changed. They could have just done a one book, Unearthed Arcana, or a year-long series of an adventure path over the year, and each one features a different aspect of the changes, and would be fine. But by releasing it the way they're releasing it, it's a brand new edition. So what's going to kill 5.5? 2024 D&D. The 5.5 crowd will either switch over to 2024 D&D, thus pretty much killing 5.5, or the 5.5 crowd will stop playing D&D, thus pretty much killing 5.5, or the 5.5 crowd will remain loyal to D&D and stop playing anything they make going further, which pretty much kills D&D. It's 6. So Wizards of the Coast is going to kill 5.5. Dagger Heart's not going to kill 5.5. Dagger Heart's big gamble is getting the critters that have invested in 5e for the past couple years to start investing in Dagger Heart. Well, Candle Obscura shows us maybe they're not that willing. Mitts shows us maybe they're not that willing. Sure, it's not their target audience, but the critters should be loyal to them, not the story they're telling. But we've seen that Candle Obscura, Mitts did not do well. Their Mortal Kombat. Did anybody even know they did a Persona-themed live play? That came and went, and nobody that never even got mentioned. I think the last time they did a game using another system that was good was the Legend of Zelda, right? That one got pretty well received. But mostly when they do games that are not their core audience, not D&D, the audience peters off, even if it's fantasy. The Exandria Unlimited, the other fantasy stuff they've done. So the gamble to be the 5.5 killer is, will that huge money bubble jump ship and start focusing on the Dagger Heart plays and the Dagger Heart merch the same way they've been focusing on the Critical Role plays and the Critical Role merch over the last 10 years, 7 years, 10 years. I'm going to say, 10 years, right? If they do, if that money that they've been pumping into 5.5 stops getting pumped into 5.5 and starts getting pumped into the Dagger Heart play, the Dagger Heart merch, the Dagger Heart money, then it kills 5.5. It kills 6E. It kills 2014 D&D, because if they don't have that money, that's a huge chunk of change that Wizards of the Coast loses. But they're not going to stop playing D&D. Campaign 4 will do D&D, and they'll just do a couple one-shots. They're not going to do a brand new. They're going to stay loyal to D&D in 2025. Then why is Wizards of the Coast making the fallbacks if they're sure Critical Role will stay loyal to them? When they already have Critical Role, and when they already have pre-established legacy characters that they could use to push forward their media empire, why do they need the fallbacks? And why are they setting the fallbacks running on this? They think it's going to win. Let's put the fallbacks everywhere mentality if they're so sure Critical Role will do campaign 4 using D&D. They wouldn't need the fallbacks unless there's some question. They're hoping the fallbacks will be as popular, if not more so, than Critical Role. And the fans that are Critical Role fans will stay around D&D because the fallbacks will just be the next big thing. I mean, every other Tom, Dick, and Harry live play has shown us that's not the case. Everybody who's tried to be Critical Role, let's do Critical Role, but just change our name to Roll with Initiative or whatever some of the other ones are. The one that Mark Holmes does, which is a direct, blatant copy. None of them has been as popular. So if Wizards of the Coast thinks Critical Role will stay loyal, they won't need the fallbacks, because they should know the fallbacks is no way, shape, or form going to capture that audience. And they've already got Drizzt. They've already got pre-integrated characters. They're telling a whole year-long story with Elminster and Mordekainen and Tasha and Silverhands. Make them the focus of your media empire. Don't introduce a brand new media empire-centric group of found family dysfunctional characters unless you don't think Critical Role is going to stay loyal. So that leaves us with this week's Dagger Heart. At least people aren't going after. Well, I can't. Yeah, they are. Of course, people are going to go after them. There's no controversy for Critical Role this week. Yes, there are people who hate Dagger Heart as if it came into their house and killed their dog. There's people who are completely non-committable about Dagger Heart. There's the people who think Dagger Heart is the greatest thing since sliced cheese. But I mean, do you love it because it's a great system, or do you love it because you're a Critical Role shill? I need to keep reading it. We'll go over that later today after lunch. But that's it for now. Unfortunately, Yeah, the worst thing is there's no way Dagger Heart could hit the road unbiased and just have a unbiased playtest, because it's Critical Role and they are controversial. They are media churners, whether it be positive or negative. They trigger media. They trigger responses. There is absolutely no way anybody could view this, even me, trying to be impartial. I'm not impartial. Let's face it, I'm not going to be impartial. All right. That's about it. Just one more thing before we just one more thing. There's my face, Shoner. So if you want to know I don't show my face, look at this. This is this horrible acne, ingrown hairs that get all over me. This is a side effect of one of the meds I have to take to regulate my various health issues. I don't think anybody wants to see these bright red spots on my face and this kisser, unless you've got some weird. Well, you did call me a groomer, so makes me wonder why you really want to see my face. But whatever, dude. This is nobody wants to see this. This is fine. VTubing is the future. Suck it if you don't agree otherwise. That's it. Talk to y'all later. Thanks to everybody who stopped by, Cal and Shattered, and the 9 others. And I'm sure one of you is a Shoner or whoever else is stalking me this week. If you're gonna stalk me, if you're gonna clout chase my content, at least, post a link. I need the love. I need the heat, Otherwise, don't farm my content. All right, talk to y'all later. Stay safe out there. It's super windy.